The tzitzit, according to pure biblical dictate, are optimally supposed to be a mixture of white as well as a greenish-blue thread. The greenish-blue thread is called Techelet, and Techelet is wool that is dyed with a very, very specific and special type of dye made from some type of fish or amphibious animal. We don't know what it is today. It has become a mystery. And so most of us wear tzitzit or a tallis that has white strings. In some circles, and specifically in Israel today, you may see some people bringing back the ancient tradition of white as well as blue thread. To wear white threads or white fringes is a mitzvah. To have the blue threads is an embellished or enhanced mitzvah. Our tradition has it that when Mashiach, when the Messiah will arrive, the true blue thread will return to the Jewish people with certainty. And at that time, the tzitzit for everybody will once again look the way they looked in temple days, in the times when the Beit HaMikdash stood and all of the Jewish people worshiped God together in unison.
Every prayer shawl, tallit, is supposed to have a blue tzitzit, a blue knotted thread woven into the tzitzit. It's naughty not to have this blue on this knotted thread, and yet not one prayer shawl has had it legitimately for quite some time. Many Jewish authorities claim a prayer shawl without the blue is still valid, since if not, then there could be no prayer shawl, even as there's no temple. Other Jewish authorities teach that a prayer shawl is invalid without the blue thread. And since the Torah itself claims the prayer shawl must have the blue thread, to say otherwise doesn't seem wise without biblical support. The lack of a blue thread in the tallit is the key to a great mystery, since it seems likely that educated Jews know good and well how the blue dye was manufactured to color the thread. Since it seems like no educated Jew could deny the nature of the dye, its absence appears to be a most telling sign of modern Judaism's desire to hide its sacerdotal deficiencies. If Jews know how the blue dye was manufactured, and yet wear prayer shawls without the blue thread demanded by the Torah, how on earth can their prayers be answered? As noted by Rabbi Samson R. Hirsch in his collected writings, Volume 3, all the appurtenances of the sanctuary and later temple, to include the veil in the temple, the Ark of the Covenant, the menorah, and all the utensils used in the sanctuary, were covered with the blue-purple that represents the union of heaven and earth. Within the symbolism employed, the things of earth use red, scarlet, or crimson, manufactured from the blood of living creatures, while the blue or violet associated with heaven comes from colloidal gold. Mix the two and you produce the blue-purple used to dye the tzitzit on the tallit. It's a very simple thing for a Jew to know that gold represents the same gradation of sanctity and holiness that blue represents, i.e. deity. Moses creates colloidal gold when he turns the emblem of deity, the Jews' molten god, the golden calf, into a liquid associated with the ornamental priestly clothing the Jews subsequently remove when they hear the sad tidings that God will not be accompanying them through their wilderness journey. When Moses tells Israel God will not be accompanying them through the wilderness because of their ithyphallic necks, they remove their ornamental clothing embellished with the blue-purple dye Moses manufactured from the colloidal gold. Since the blue, colloidal gold, and the red, the blood of the sacrificial bull, produces purple or blue-purple, Israel wearing the blue-purple tzitzit signifies their tacit acknowledgement that the tallit, with the blue-purple threads, represents a union of the blood of deity, colloidal gold, the golden calf, and the blood of living things, such as the actual sacrificial bull. Moses manufactures divine blood by grinding down the golden calf, burning the hell out of it, i.e. the chametz, thereafter making it into a fine powder added to water to create colloidal gold. This divine blood was half the color used to create the ornamental priestly garments worn by every Jew until they removed their ornaments to lament the fact that God wouldn't follow them into the wilderness. We know that, symbolically speaking, the golden calf is the virgin-born son of the red heifer, the para adamah. That's documented in Jewish midrashim. Rashi points it out. So we know the virgin-born son of the para adamah gives its blood, the colloidal gold, in order to save Israel from her idolatry, worshiping a molten god. Moses extracts the blood of the son of the virgin cow, the para adamah, which as a sacrifice must never have been mounted, it's virgin, and uses it as the chametz-free elixir of Israel's salvation. The charismatic nuance of saying Israel is saved by the divine blood of a sacrificial offering transgresses the knowledgeable Jews' knowledge that there are certain prohibitions against mixing unlike things, and obviously nothing seems as unlike as the blood of God, the colloidal gold, and the blood of living things. The name of this prohibition is Shatznez. It's the law against mixing wool and linen, which, according to Rabbi Hirsch, is merely symbolic of all other kinds of unlawful mixing. And yet, whenever the blue-purple dye manufactured from colloidal gold and blood is found, the prohibition on Shatznez is lifted. Shatznez represents the unlawful mixing of unlike properties: vegetative life, linen, and biological life, wool. Shatznez is part and parcel of the Jewish prohibition on worshiping a God-man, the mixed properties of God and man. But since the blue-purple thread of the tzitzit represents the blood of God mixed with the blood of his creatures, the law of mixing unlike things must be rescinded in order to wear the tzitzit. And conveniently, the tzitzit rescinds the law of Shatznez, even according to the law. In the temple, the prohibition of Shatznez is lifted because the temple itself represents the dwelling place of God in man and man in God. Israel is supposed to be the living temple, such that the blood of God is mingled with the blood of the Israelite man. Consequently, the blue-purple thread disappeared from the scene approximately the time the Romans sacked the temple because of Israel's rejection of the God-man, God mixed with man, Messiah, i.e. the first true Jew with God's very blood coursing through his veins. God removed the temple, which represented the lifting of the prohibition on divine incarnation, the prohibition of mixing unlike things, and took away the blue-purple thread that represents the same thing. The Ancient History Encyclopedia website has an article on Tyrian purple that lends itself to the topic of Techelet, the blue purple. Interestingly, the article claims the color developed sometime around the 14th or 15th century BCE, the same time as the Exodus, which is when Moses first introduced the color Techelet. Though the article incorrectly assumes, with the mass majority, that the color is manufactured through snails, as is the case for certain other blue-hued dyes, there's evidence beneath the surface narrative of the article that justifies what's been said about Techelet here. The article points out that the, quote, highest quality cloth was known as dipatha, meaning twice dipped, end quote. This twice dipping justifies the idea that the Techelet was manufactured through a twice sprinkling procedure. Moses first sprinkled the communal priesthood's garments with the blood of a bull as they exited Egypt, Exodus 24, 6 through 8. And then, not long thereafter, he sprinkles these same priestly garments a second time with the blue-blooded golden calf, colloidal gold, creating the Techelet. The first dipping or sprinkling was from the blood of a living bull, red. The second dipping/sprinkling was with the blue color manufactured from colloidal gold, representing the blood of a deified calf, a heavenly calf. When this royal blue blood, as it were, was mixed with the red of the living calf, it produced a magnificent purple which, because it was formed by blood and the nanoparticles of gold, created a hue that was stubborn as an ox, so to say, to remove. One of the unique qualities of both Tyrian purple and Techelet is how stubbornly the hue adheres to cloth. It was the longest lasting color and held its hue more perfectly than any known dye. The nano size of the particles allow them to enter into the keratin of the wool garments, making the removal nearly impossible. Ironically, the article on Tyrian purple uses the very two colors associated with the Techelet: red, the living calf's blood, and blue, colloidal gold, divine blue blood, as the two colors that twice dipping used to create the purple. Quote, purple could be produced from certain lichens by first dyeing using red, madder, and then over dyeing using blue, woad. End quote. The article even gets the order correct according to the scripture. The red comes first, then the blue is placed over the red to create the purple. Rabbi Hirsch says, we have noted that Techelet is a color indicating the limits of our horizon, the invisible world that lies beyond our physical field of vision, i.e. the divine. Therefore, a Techelet colored thread of wool in the human garment is the color representing the divine that has been revealed to us. It is the color of God's covenant with man, the symbol of the divine that unites with the pure human being, permeating and shaping every aspect of his life. Rabbi Samson R. Hirsch, Collected Writings, Volume 3. Rabbi Hirsch is clear in his writing that red, which comes from the blood of living things, represents the animal, while blue represents the divine in man, such that purple, a mixture of the animal and the divine, represents the union of the two. Purple is made by mixing red and blue. The sacerdotal colors throughout the sanctuary and temple are blue, purple, and red. The blue represents God's blood, nephesh. The red represents the animal part of man. And the purple represents what you get when you place God's blood, nephesh, into the earthly frame of man, the animal, i.e. Adam, God and man, who is created from the earth like an animal, but such that into this particular animal God puts his own blood, making Adam spiritual royalty, purple. The law of Shatnez, which Rabbi Hirsch pointedly says refers to the prohibition against mixing unlike things, animal and plant, God and man, red and blue, is rescinded wherever Techelet, blue-purple, the blood of the divine mixed with the blood of living, is found. Blue-purple represents the mixture of the ultimate unlike things, God and man. Purple represents the ultimate royalty, since it mixes the divine and the human in the original man, Adam, who was created king over all God's creation.